Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Talking Ship podcast brought to you by shipmyplants.com. Today, I have the pleasure of speaking with an old friend and colleague, Deb from Deb's Greenhouse in Alberta, Canada, where as I record this intro, it is a negative 40 degrees Fahrenheit, and that's not counting the wind chill. We're going to talk about a lot of different topics relating to horticulture and being an entrepreneur. Deb has taken her grower retailer store and turned it into something more than just another garden center. Here, along with her children who are now becoming involved in the business, Deb has pioneered marketing and selling in the off-season, built a miniature golf course at the garden center, and we will also talk about her recent trip to Australia. So without further ado, here is the world-famous garden influencer, Debbie from Deb's Greenhouse. Deb and I have known each other for a long time, so this conversation will be very natural, and it's exciting. So thanks for being on the podcast, Deb.
Thanks for having me today, Richard.
So you've been in the greenhouse business for a while, and you've also been raising your family. But what got you started into the greenhouse business?
Right. So I get asked that all the time. Getting started in the greenhouse industry it's not a family business. So I started the greenhouse myself. I think a lot of greenhouse growers start because their family's in it, like your family's a greenhouse family. I did grow up in agriculture though. So here in Alberta, I grew up on a little cattle farm. And when I first got married, my husband and I had a cattle farm as well. And I really loved it. Like I really love all types of agriculture. But I had four little kids, and cattle farming with four little kids just wasn't working. I couldn't help out. I needed to be with my family, which is what I wanted to be, the type of parent I wanted to be. So I thought, what can I do with the land that we have? And a friend suggested I get a greenhouse. I already had a U-pick raspberry, so it was just kind of a nice transition. And that's where we got started. That was back in 2009.
Wow. And so that first year, what was it like? I mean, starting a greenhouse from scratch, because like you said, most in this industry are second or even third generation, and I'm a second generation myself, so I really didn't know anything different. But what was it like that first year?
It was so much fun. I think that our area really supports independent greenhouses. So we were so busy right away. This industry is so supportive and fantastic. And I find that like if I had questions, I could ask any other greenhouse, they would answer them. So we had a lot of resources, especially local, to pull from, but we had no idea what we were doing. We had grown lots. I always had a big vegetable garden, but growing outside is completely different than growing inside. So we learned really quickly what to do and what not to do.
It's amazing because I know that you're a mom and you've got some children that some of them maybe are working in the business now, but for a while there they were young kids, and so you're raising these kids and building a successful greenhouse business. How did you do it?
I don't know. It was really hard. Uh, to be the kind of parent I wanted to be is why I had the greenhouse, because then I was flexible. My days were flexible. I could get to all the sports games. You could still help out at the school. Um, with the 9 to 5 job, it's that, I wouldn't have been able to do that, or having kids in daycare, I wouldn't have been able to have them with me all the time. So the greenhouse really afforded me to be a parent the way I wanted to be, but it's a lot of work. Like physically, it is so demanding. Like when I started this, I was way younger. So, I mean, you can just go all day, and the kids are just right there with you all the time. I mean, you have a busy family too. So it's a lot. It's a lot.
But I mean, it's empowering to hear, for people not to be discouraged to do this while you are, raising kids, and maybe it was to the benefit of the kids to be around that hard work and learn a lot of different skills and how to fix things. And now your daughter, the one who's 22, is she helping it like give a different generational perspective that's also helping the business out from a marketing or just you know, how does her insight help the business?
So Paige is really creative. After high school, she took business and graphic design. So she brings a skill set that I don't have, but she's so creative. We've developed quite a few programs here in our garden center that are exclusive to us that she spearheaded. So we have our own seed company that we started back in 2019, and she drew all of the artwork for it and kind of built the entire program. We also have a special plant program called Envy Kits, and she did all of that work with all of the plant design, all of the package design, and it's things that when you're running the business, you don't always have time to dedicate to. So having people on your team that have all these amazing skill sets, lean into it. Like it's amazing what has come out of our team for design and marketing ideas.
So tell us about the seed program. What's that all about?
So we felt that where we are in Alberta, Canada, all of the seed companies that we could buy seed for retail, the instructions on the packaging really weren't for our region. And that's the thing with gardening is that every little area has a different climate. Where you are, completely different growing season than where I am, even in the south of our province or the north of our province. So we really wanted to make a seed company that had information on it on the seed packages that were for here. And because of that, we just made our own seed company. We wanted the best varieties with the best yields and the best flavor, and we knew what that was because we've gardened forever. So we just jumped right in and did it.
You've told me a little bit before in the past about the Envy kits. What are those, and how does it make sense for Deb's greenhouse?
So another issue that we found we had is a lot of people have great big beautiful ceramic pottery, and they don't need a new pot every year. Like they've got a beautiful pot, their patio's decked out, they have what they want, and they just need the plants. But if you just buy the individual plants, it takes a couple weeks for them to root in and to really look robust. So we have taken our favorite combos, which are all designed by my daughter, and put them in what's called a plant pie. So it's an 11-inch deep pie. It's like 3 inches by 11 inches. And we can plant those beautiful combos in this pie from little plug stage. If your greenhouse, you know what that is. And then it grows into just this beautiful, like a mushroom cap of flowers. So just at the perfect time in springtime, you take that NV kit home and just pop it out into your existing container. And it's more economical. It's less waste. It's easier for us to grow space-wise. We can get more in the greenhouse, and it's a solution for our customers. So it's become a really big deal. We're known as the Envy Kit Place. We do pre-orders with those. People have already been pre-ordering for next spring.
Well, that's a perfect segue into my next question for you, because this is something that I envy about Deb's greenhouse is the success of the pre-orders. And you guys do the pre-orders online, and they are starting already for spring 2024. So tell us about how that works, and how do you manage the inventory? How do you keep track of it all? And why does it make sense to pre-order stuff rather than wait for the doors to fly open on your opening day?
Well, we open by Easter time, so it's way too cold to take plants home and keep them happy. So there's a couple of reasons that we do the pre-orders. One is that greenhouses always get requests to do custom orders. So custom orders can be a bit tricky because customers might want something that you can't source, or you can't find, or you can't get enough of. So by offering a pre-order, we have preset combos. So if you're looking for red, we've got different options for red combos, or different options for pink, or different options for sun or shade. So you can pick from our catalog, or we have a paper catalog. We also have all of our stores online. You can choose what you'd like, and you don't have to rush to the garden center, buy it early, drag it in, drag it out until the days are warm enough. So we hold those pre-orders until after our last frost date, which for us is typically near the end of May. It could be May 24. It could be June 1st, just depends on the season. It's a solution for our customers. Like if you have a lot of local businesses will buy their hanging baskets. They want them all to match and make their storefront really pretty. So they can pre-order them, and then it's done. They can pick up when the weather's good, and they don't have to worry about hanging on to them until the weather smartens up.
And it's a good way for you guys to bring in some revenue while the slow season, right?
Yeah, definitely. It's become about 20 to 25% of our annual business.
I would say that that's safe to say that that's m- the most anybody's doing on pre-orders as far as a percentage of their business. I could be wrong, but I haven't heard of anybody that's that successful. So you do a great job. You've built that business over time too. It doesn't happen overnight, right? Like you have to keep beating that drum on a regular basis and stay with a consistent cadence of marketing and right. I mean, or did it just explode?
It we're we listen to what our customers want, and this is what they want. They want not everybody wants to drag their plants in and out. We hear you. I don't want to do that either. If I didn't have a greenhouse, I would be pre-ordering so that I get the flowers I want and I don't have the risk of not getting them on time. A lot of things sell out really fast in the greenhouse. Like you sell out of things before Mother's Day. And that might be someone's favorite combo. So they can reserve it and we'll have it ready for them at the right time of year.
You're when you Google Deb's greenhouse, first of all, I'm in Chicago and you guys come right up in Morinville, Canada, but it's Deb's greenhouse and mini golf.
Right.
And you know, there's more entrepreneurial things we're going to cover here, but let's hear about the mini golf.
Well, the mini golf is phase two in a three-phase plan. So something that I loved as a kid, and maybe you remember, is the video and the book, The Secret Garden. I was
Mhm.
obsessed with that. I love that combined with the story of Alice in Wonderland. So we built a secret garden in 2020, and it's just a little display garden with a wooden boardwalk, so it's fully accessible, has a bathroom out there, and we have tiny mini doors for kids to go through, and they all have antique key locks. So every kid that comes to the greenhouse, every single time they come, they get a free antique key. That's like our promo thing for kids. And they can take that key through the garden and play in the pathways and the doors. The second phase of that was the mini golf. So we built the mini golf last summer. And it's a continuation of the garden.
That is super cool. I'm like so inspired by that actually because I don't know. It just nobody does stuff like that. So
I,
that's why I think you and I are friends because we can relate, right?
I think the reason we do those kinds of things is because I have a young family and we really love plants. So kids get to experience plants in a way that maybe they wouldn't otherwise. It's really fun to see them just having a blast. And sometimes I'll be at the front of the store and I can hear a parent pull up and I will hear a kid screaming, "We're at the greenhouse with the secret doors." Like they really so it's also something that for us to be open all summer, it provides enough foot traffic to keep the doors open all summer here. There's a lot of tourists in here. A lot of people go camping to the mountains. So this is another draw for our entire region. It's to have the mini golf and the secret garden.
You do all these things, you come out with new product lines, your kids are also involved in that creative process. But you know, like me, you seem to have a mind that works with sometimes with a play on words, and where we created a website marketplace platform called Ship My Plants. You created a product called Wet My Plants, and I I got to hear about it. You got to tell the listeners. And how did you, first of all, you create a product? Where can it be purchased? Is it sold online? Is it just in your store? Is this going to be in distribution? Tell us about Wet My Plants.
So what my plants currently is available online. We ship across Canada, or it's available in our store. It's another solution to a problem customers are having. So I find that in the greenhouse industry, as greenhouse growers, we have a plethora of products available to us that we use on a regular basis that make total sense. And I'm not sure why they're not available to the consumer. So Wet My Plants is not it's not a chemical. It's to help you with hydrophobic soil. So that's like a big messy word that doesn't make sense, but it's really when your hanging basket gets so dry that when you water it, the water just runs out the bottom. Like it doesn't even soak up because it's too dry and it's almost like styrofoam. and it sinks away from the edges. And anyone who's had a greenhouse knows what we're talking about because we've all dried plants and killed plants that way. So what the What My Plants does is it allows the water to really penetrate and sit in that soil volume, or peat moss, because we use peat moss blends, longer to satisfy the plant. And we use that in our greenhouse. I'm sure you guys use it too. It's really a water lubricant, and the water wetter longer. So it's called Wet My Plants, and it's available from us.
Deb is a speaker at the Cultivate show, and you were a speaker this past Cultivate. What's the topic that you are a speaker on? And also, I'm going to encourage the listeners that if you are a Cultivate attendee, to go see Deb speak, but also do the other education sessions that make sense. Plan your trip ahead of time. But what are you talking about over there?
Well, I've done a lot of speaking at conferences, so I've done how to take your boring plant expertise into fun, turn that into fun, catchy videos. We do a lot of videos. We do a lot of marketing. And I don't even really want to call it marketing. We learned a long time ago that we are educators. So we do a lot of education through video, where some greenhouses will do blogs or just talk one-on-one to the customer. We found that we're really good at the video game, which isn't going anywhere. If you're afraid of video, you need to turn that around and get ready to do video for the greenhouses. But a lot about the pre-selling, I think that a lot of greenhouses would really be more successful if they were pre-selling things rather than having product left over at the end of the season. Fill that space up and grow what your customers want. So, a lot of greenhouses have things left at the end that they, didn't order the right amount of or ordered too much of. And, that wasn't what your customer was looking for. So we're really growing what they would like and maximizing our space. We're a smaller garden center, so we're more of a boutique garden center, but we're really capitalizing on what our customers are looking for. So that's what I do a lot of speaking about. But mostly people want to hear about the videos and the social media.
Well, you are pretty active and successful, and you've got Michael also, who has been joining in your videos, which if we could tell the listeners about him and his business and how you guys interact.
I'm everywhere that's relevant. So if you're looking on TikTok, if you're looking on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, we have videos on all of those platforms. A simple type of Deb's Greenhouse. Some are gardening with Deb's Greenhouse. Some are just Deb's Greenhouse. Just depends what name we're able to get at the time that we join those platforms. But yeah, I'm on all of them, and you'll recognize us right away. Like, we've got a great team. All of our team does videos now as well. So yes, Michael joins me in videos, but our young staff really, really did an amazing job this year. We've got 2 young guys called the Plant Guys. They've kind of become famous. Our whole team has embraced the videos, and it's really amazing to see what kind of education they're offering our customer base. Michael's also in our videos. He is a neighboring greenhouse owner. Now, he has just recently in the last few years sold that greenhouse, but he manages it still. So that's how we met, is that we're colleagues in this industry. And we just did a tour in Australia together. And seeing the greenhouse industry in Australia was really eye-opening. It's very different than what I had expected for such a warm country.
In what ways? Were you surprised by the plants that they had, or?
I was surprised by the plants they had. I was really surprised that they're growing exactly what we're growing for spring bedding plants. So they're growing petunias, geraniums, impatiens, pansies, all the exact same things we would grow here in Canada, same as what you would have on all of your benches there. So I was shocked by that in particular. So we were there in early springtime, so you would see all that fresh crop of spring. It's very different than in North America. In North America, a greenhouse like me, an independent greenhouse that is like a boutique style. I'm a grower retailer, so I grow it here and I sell it in the same space. We only bring in houseplants in our particular situation. And Richard, I know that you guys grow and sell as well. That does not happen in Australia.
Not at all.
No, no. There are a bunch of really big, giant growers that distribute to little shops that might appear independent, but they don't actually grow it. They only bring it in. They're not seeding or growing or getting plugs in like we do.
So in most of the population in Australia is along the coasts, right? So all of this is done within like a narrow strip of space, pretty
Yeah.
much.
Well, the greenhouses that we visited, some big growers were inland a couple of hours. And so they are shipping those plants pretty far, I think, for what they could be doing if they were closer by. But really interesting. I I was quite shocked. I think that there's a lot of room for independents to to come in and not take over, but there's room for in the marketplace for grower retailers in the Australian market.
Well, that's great. I'm glad you got to have that experience because I'm sure that provided a lot of different perspective on things, not just in our industry, but just in life in general, because it's, you know, going to different places, it always opens your eyes to different perspectives and ideas, and meeting different people with different cultural backgrounds, I think is one of the most interesting and positive things about just the human experience. So I envy you for being able to go and spend that time there. And it looked like a wonderful trip. I, follow you on social media, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is so cool.
We
And
should
so, yeah,
we shared a lot about our trip to Australia. We went to a lot of botanical gardens and got to see some really incredible plants. Something like a ficus, right? A fiddle leaf fig, 40 feet tall in a tropical area, just humongous. So everything that we would grow as a little 4 or 6 or 8 inch house plant were literally, between 10 and 40 feet tall. So that was really incredible. And you can't even capture some of these things in pictures. They're so gigantic. But that was really interesting with seeing all the botanical gardens that we toured. If ever you get to go, that I would definitely take in those kinds of tourism sites. That was really fun. And we took a lot of videos. We did a lot of videos talking about them and showing people different plants that we grow that are also grown there, but they're perennials there. I actually have a question for you that I would like to ask because
yes,
I shouldn't be an interview. I think it should be discussion.
yeah,
So, Richard, we have been friends for years, and we finally got to meet in person a few years ago at Cultivate at
mhm.
the conference. But uh, with Ship My Plants, you and I have been discussing this for years. This isn't a new idea. This is something that you have really, really researched and looked into. You have web experience outside of the greenhouse industry. Tell us more about how you saw that this was something needed in the greenhouse industry.
Well, that's a great question, and thank you for asking it. So, Ship My Plants was born from my experience selling on Amazon and realizing that, the percentage that they take is pretty high, which, really inflates the cost of plants. And so that there was an opportunity for a niched marketplace with lower commission fees that could also bring the plants that people want to buy online to people that are specifically like living in what we call plant deserts. There's a lot of pockets around North America where consumers have to drive like hours just to get to a garden center. And even if they do get to a garden center, they might not have everything that they need or are looking for just because the population around that area doesn't support it. So we actually have a map on that we've been able to extrapolate all of our orders that we've had in the first 6 months on Ship My Plants into basically Google Maps. And it perfectly illustrates exactly what I'm talking about with the plant deserts, where there are places where you could see there's just gaps, especially in the western states of population, but there are people that live there. So we're providing access to basically an online virtual garden center through aggregation of multiple different sellers. And much like Amazon's original goal of being the one place that somebody could find any book, our goal is to be the one place somebody can find any plant. So that's why we did it. And we're also leveraging the different plant sellers own brand without taking away their face and name. So, when you buy something, for example, on another bigger marketplace platform, you think you're buying it all from Amazon. You're not. You're buying it from multiple different sellers. You could be buying it from somebody that's shipping stuff out of their garage. You could be buying it from a local independently owned retailer. You could be buying it from a national brand. This kind of gives the independent garden center channel, independent grower channel, or the local, mom and propagator who wants to have basically a business out of their house, just getting started, a place to put their brand out there without losing that identity and find more customers that are specifically looking for plants and plant related goods. So that's in a nutshell. I've said all these things so many times that it's kind of it just flows right out. But that's why we created the platform. We actually have the world's largest commercial plant database built into the back end of the site so that plant sellers can quickly and easily list their products on there without having to take professional photographs, which are already all built in, and they don't have to fear copyright infringement, that they don't have permission to use those photos. So we tried to make it something that nobody else had done. And obviously multi-vendor marketplace platforms existed, but not niched for the plant world. And plant photos and cultural information and different, different geography as it relates to the plants, so we have multiple different plant records for things that are, in some zones an annual, some zones a perennial, some zones a shrub, some areas it's a house plant, some areas it's a landscape plant. So we have these added plant records built in to help anybody that wants to sell plants online, either putting it in a box and shipping it across the nation or locally within just whatever zip codes that they choose, or just as a local pickup option. We made it all there for them to do. And, it's been 6 months since we went live now. And so I still consider us within the first year. And there's 15 sellers on there, including my own, grower retailer outlet that we are selling stuff on there. And it's been quite a journey, and you got to fight tooth and nail. I haven't seen penny one for myself. We have a lot of investment into building this thing, and I've got people that are, believing in us and backing us. And this spring of 2024 should be pretty interesting.
I think though what you that said about the regional information, I think that is kind of the gap that's missing in anyone else that's trying to sell plants that's not a greenhouse grower, because there's so much misinformation out there. We get asked, as I'm sure every greenhouse does, questions all the time about, does this plant grow here? Is this information I read online true? And I think that what you're offering is a credible source for not only the plants, but also the information. And that is huge in this industry. And someone who's not in this industry can't copy that and have it right. You only know it if you grow it.
Yeah, and that's true. And the people that are selling can also add their own photos into the listing too. So it doesn't limit you to just using what's in the database, but it gives them that, 85% of the way what they need. They don't even have to add photos. But yeah, we're trying to make it as simple and seamless as possible. Time is money. This industry, all the technology that I see coming out, it really is relating to saving us time, automating processes.
How does Ship My Plants support someone like me when Ship My Plants comes to Canada? How is our business relationship so that I can get started on that? What do I need to do?
So essentially, all you need is a tax ID and a business bank account, which that you need to create a Stripe account, which Stripe is an online payment processor, and that's what we utilize. And then if you're shipping stuff, you need a ShipStation account. So if you have those three things, you can set up an account within, less than an hour and be fully selling. It's completely self-serve. We have a seller sign-up wizard that's customized that can walk you through the process. Or if you need help or you want to talk to us, we can help you set up your store as well. We're at the point where about half of our sellers have set up their own stores, and the other half we've walked them through.
So if I need technical help to set up my store on Ship My Plants, you guys will provide that. We can have that service.
Yeah, absolutely. And we also handle the sales tax calculations for the sellers. So we through the platform, we're using a sales tax software that calculates and files. It collects the tax from the end consumer, and then we remit it to the jurisdiction that it goes to electronically. And that way, the sellers can focus more on selling plants and having to deal with that aspect of it as well. So that's another added benefit. And the marketing that drives consumers to the site. We're paying for marketing to bring customers for our sellers because it's a mutually beneficial relationship.
I'm so excited that it's happening now. We've talked about this for years, and you're doing it. You're here, and you're running a garden center too. This is part of the garden center is having this amazing resource for all garden centers.
Well, thank you, Deb. And there's not a lot of people that knew about the idea, like probably 2018. I think I first told you about this. And for you to continue the support, and it is surreal to like actually have built this. I was told by friends and family to not do it, because you're going to spend so much money, you're going to spend all this time, focus on what your main thing is. And it's like, I had to do this because number one, the name and the branding is great, and I own the domain, and I knew that I had the wherewithal to get it done through just being resourceful, knowing people and knowing what is needed. And so I'm glad we're at this point, and thanks for bringing that up. It's funny, I talk about this so much that I forgot to even mention it at all, but I'm glad you asked. And so
I know that this couldn't be done by someone who isn't a greenhouse grower. This can't be started. Plants do not ship the same as other items and other goods, and we know that because this is our life. But I think this is going to be big, Rich.
well, thanks, Deb, and thank you for your friendship. And I'm glad we did finally get to meet in person this past summer. And then I ran into Michael in the elevator, and I introduced myself to him. I said, I know you from from online. So anyways, it's really cool how the people that are like-minded in our industry are kind of magnetically attracted to one another, and we are able to share ideas, and just so keep up the great work with what you're doing. And yeah, when Ship My Plants comes to Canada, we're going to have the Envy kits and the Wet My Plants products, and anything else that I think that you'd be able to do really well with, and find more customers, expand your reach, and get plants to people that can't really drive that far to get to them.
Yeah, we're going to do some practice shipping this spring to see what best way to box our Envy kits. And I'm going to ship some to my sister, my brother, and see what it looks like when they open that up.
I think that's a great idea. Have them do an unboxing video for you, right?
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah. At a local box company we can work with. We've already done some work since you and I talked last to come up with a really good design so that it ships well.
Good. Well, that was an amazing conversation. We covered a lot of subjects with Deb from Deb's Greenhouse in Alberta, Canada. And I want to thank her for coming on the podcast. So thank you, Deb.
You're welcome. That was fun.
And this has been the Talking Ship podcast, brought to you by shipmyplants.com. Until next time.